Hello there, this is Cece with Going Solo. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And I am so pleased to have you guys with us tonight. We are bringing back the Boy and Girl Thing show. And that was so popular. And unfortunately, Christopher is not going to be with us doing it because we're going to start up a new show called Date the Right One. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But those of you that haven't heard this show before, it really embraces the differences between men and women because let's face it, we are extremely different. We think differently. And sometimes we just react to things a little bit differently. So tonight I have with me a wonderful guest. He is it's unbelievable. He is a speaker. He's a best-selling author of this wonderful book called 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. He is a relationship attraction dating expert. So what a great guy to be able to bring on the show with us. I can't believe it. Selby, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure and honor. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Oh, it's great having you. I know you've been on Going Solo with Cece before, and I know that was a very popular show because we all like to know about dating because we're kind of in the midst of it. I know I'm in the midst of it. Last time we talked, you were in a relationship. So how's that going for you?
I've been single for a while now, so that ended.
Uh-oh, so here we go.
Things change, things change.
Yeah, things happen. Well, it's meant to be. So, and you'll be dating the right one soon, so I'm sure. But, here's the thing, right? So as we're traveling through, we're making that transition through into our journey. And you've written a terrific book. And I just wanted to be able to talk about that here on the show. It's 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. And the reason why I think that is so important is because like the law of attraction, right? It's so, it's so vital for us to be able to get our vibration out there, get it, raise it to the platform that we need to raise it so we can bring those closer that we need to meet, those individuals that we need to meet. So let's talk a little bit about how did you get into being a dating expert and basically the relationship attraction expert and writing this terrific book. So how did this happen for you?
Well, it wasn't through study initially. I didn't go to school for this, although in a way my school needed help. Basically because I kept making mistakes. As simple as that. I wasn't a very effective dater, let's put it that way. My relationship skills were average at best. And I had certain things I learned through relationships that said, okay, this is something about me I need to learn about and fix and change and improve. And along the way, I picked up a master's degree in spiritual psychology. I've been studying spiritual practice for many years. But every so often, I was still discover hiccups along the way. So it became like, what can I learn from this? What can I do better than that time? Because I screwed this up again. And that was probably the biggest thing is when I have this repeated cycle, when I go, oh, this is me again. Because it happened to, I did it 3 times. That wasn't them. It's me this time. So it really put me on the path of self-study and learning how to be a more effective person in the world and also how people interact better. So I ended up distilling down 50 different ideas for healthy relationships for men and women, for couples and singles, to how to be a more effective, that's the wrong word, a more loving person, and then also able to be more healthy in a relationship.
Yeah, that's true. Being a more loving person. I agree with that because I think that so often there's times where we're not, and then we wonder how come they're not attracted to us because we're not that loving. So like, why don't you want to be in a relationship with me?
Right.
I know, really. But life gets in the way, doesn't it? And it makes you, it just get grumpy at times, I guess, maybe, huh?
Well, the thing is some people, I won't say for myself or for you, but some people do have this feeling where they want to be in a relationship to get themselves out of the funk they feel they're in, which is not the right way to do it, but people choose that sometimes to be a much more, if only I was there because the grass is greener there than it is here.
Right.
So we're in this place where we need to find that person to make us feel better when it's really our own job to feel better in the first place. So,
Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very true. Now, can you give us a little, blurbage about your book, like some information? We want to find out more about this 50 ways. That's a lot of ways to love your lover.
Well, let me be transparent. Some of those ways are very simplistic because a lot of people don't get the simple stuff. They have to get, it's like they have to get the basics and baby steps, then the advanced stuff. So my book has a range of topics in it. But some things to talk about is really about the fact that for example, loving is something we don't go out looking for to fill up ourselves necessarily, but it's loving that comes from within us first. When we love ourselves fully and love somebody else, then we can receive love. But we're looking for someone else to fill us up and love us first. We end up being hungry all the time, that someone's going to keep us alive and fed. And sometimes it can be really depleting. Somebody else saying, you know, when you keep putting the energy out that you need to love me so I can feel good, that can be a turn off big time. So one of the teachings I put out is about loving yourself first before you love somebody else, because it's the best way to have a healthy relationship, but it's not the way most people think about it. They go on an app to go swiping, dating, whatever they're doing, hoping that somebody out there will love them enough for them to feel okay. And that's a backwards approach.
Yeah. I remember somebody told me one time is that, would you date yourself? You know, would you, I mean, would you want to be with yourself every day? And I'm stuck, you know, because I'm stuck with myself every day. So
right.
I had to stop and think about that one. And I thought, you know, I do have moments just like everyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do all have them, but that kind of makes us a little bit unique. You know, we don't want to be totally, I mean, no one's up all the time and happy all the time, but you know, you do want to know that your core values are there, that you can have a relationship, that you can have that, you know, that talk or be able to have that communication, you know, with someone else when you're having those times, you know.
That's the ideal situation. Yes.
Yeah. To be able to say, hey, I'm having a bad day. And you better just stay to work. Don't come home.
Yeah, give me space. Give me space. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Lose my phone number for a little bit. Yeah. No. So if someone was dating now, just coming out of a relationship, and they start to date, and they're kind of up and down, you know, they're ready for it, but they're just not sure on how to go about taking that first step. Any recommendation that you could give them?
Well, first of all, this will go either way. First of all, is don't expect the new person to match the old one or to fix the old one's problems. Because sometimes we look at the old love and say, oh, that was so wonderful, I really want that again. You can't always promise that for yourself. And at the same time, the other side of that is, you don't want the problems you had before, you don't want the next person to fix that. That's a trap as well. So really, it's the true essence is to really be autonomous. Is to really love yourself, be in that space of ownership. So when you meet somebody, they become additive to who you are and not replacing something you think you're missing. A lot of us, after breakups, feel we're dragging this wound behind us. We feel so lovelorn. They want somebody else to come along and fix it and make us feel whole again. Right. And the reality is they can't do that. It's up to us to do that. So in between the breakup and the next relationship is where you do the real work, which is really building up your own self-esteem, self-support, and loving who you are. So when you go out and meet somebody, you're actually not needing them. You're actually enjoying their company as a bonus to who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. Now, do you think that it's different for men versus women? Because so often I've heard about, you know, guys will break up and they'll just get right back on the saddle again and then just go out and meet a bunch of women and do whatever. And women tend to kind of, most of them, I would say they stay back, you know, a little bit for, you know, her.
Yeah. Well, to answer the question more directly, obviously men and women are different physically, we are different physical beings, but also we are different emotionally. And so men may go out and date more efficiently, but the challenge is with men is that we don't necessarily have the depth of emotional feeling, at least not overtly, that women tend to do more naturally. So the reason why dating is different is because men either don't feel as much up front or they stuff their feelings more easily than women do. We are very good as men at generally disconnecting our feelings. We feel more deeply, but we don't express it very much and we keep ourselves hidden. So for women, they may feel like, how can he go out and date somebody else so quickly? It's because he's not even feeling his wounds. He's buried them so deep. Women will feel their wounds, and it's much harder to go on the same way unless you act like men, which I don't recommend, because then you're doing the same thing of just hiding the emotions and going out and dating again just to cover up what's not working.
Right. And they're not, men are not necessarily, as they're doing that, just going out and just whatever. They're not really building a relationship. They're just filling the space of time, right?
Pretty much. I mean, depending on the woman they go out with, that woman may perhaps be effective enough to stir up the emotions they haven't resolved. But generally speaking, men, and I want to be careful. These are generalities. I'll make sure I'm very clear. This is being generalized.
Yeah, totally.
Is that generally speaking, men are not as emotionally invested and nor as intimacy available, put it that way, as women are. And I don't mean just sex, I mean the intimacy, because men are very much about, oh yeah, sex is great, but intimacy is a much deeper topic than just sex. It's about that connection, that place of openness, and that place of vulnerability, which women are generally more available to than men are. And so it's that challenge for men is that when they go out with another woman, they may want to jump into bed and have sex with them, but they don't have the feeling connection, that full intimacy depth available to women because they haven't done the work to get there. So generally speaking, women are more available to that, which is what women really want anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's true that when women become sexual, they view that as intimacy, but men don't necessarily do that. But here's the thing: is when they do, then it's really hard. It's very difficult for them. It's very painful for them. Because I've seen it in my divorce support group, and it's a lot of them, you know, after conversations and stuff, they've decided that they won't go out and date for a while. And the ones that have decided to do that, they've actually healed, I think, a little bit faster. You know, they've been able to spend the time working on themselves and really starting to understand themselves. Because what happens is when they go out and they meet another woman, she becomes, you know, intimate right away, you know, because, you know, he's a good guy. I mean, just because he got divorced, he's a bad guy, you know. And so they like him because that pool, you know, the male pool is small. And so they latch a hold, and he's, you know, he's busy, you know, swimming away. He doesn't want to get into that kind of relationship now. So it's, it is better to really spend the time working on yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that when you do that and you do find that you're ready to go out and start dating, is to go out to really create another relationship for yourself, it becomes so much more worthwhile, you know, without having to break those strings. So is there anything you think is wacky that women do when we're dating?
Wacky?
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to be nice about that. But, you know, a lot of the guys will say, you know, I don't want a psycho. I don't want this kind of stuff. Well, you know, I ask myself, am I a psycho? I don't think I am.
Well, this is a dangerous topic we're getting to now. No,
I know. But, you know, you read these profiles, right? And they say that I don't want drama. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's like, so what do you say about that?
For a lot of men, when they say they don't want drama, it's because they don't want a woman to be expressing themselves fully because men can't handle it. That's one thing. But there are women who are extremely emotional, as in that spectrum of range of emotional expression. So it can be more dramatic, which can almost be too much for men. So that's part of the thing. But for women, a lot of times, here's a few things. Women, when you're out dating, remember that you're being a woman, not trying to be another man. Especially in the current modern times we live in, with everybody on the same page, and the enabling of women to be basically out functional in the world as which they never were 50 years ago, means that women are actually out in the dating arena like men are. And for a lot of women, they actually go out choosing the men. They'll go chase the man. They'll go out dating, just swiping, same as the men do. So it's almost like they're in the masculine just as much as the men are, and that is not a good place to be in a loving relationship. And this whole masculine feminine piece is a big conversation, but simply put, the masculine energy is the one that pursues, that chases. And when a woman puts herself into masculine, she's pursuing the man, and he can't be in the same place for them to come together. So either he's got to drop it for her to run over, or she has to let go and be in the feminine so she can receive him in the masculine energetically. And so one of the biggest things is women tend to act like men, and it doesn't work. Not in the business world, it will work. In the dating world, not so much.
Yeah, I've heard of this many times. I've heard other people, other dating coaches have said the same thing. And so I wonder, you know, our world is making a shift, right? Women are shifting into that. And it's, but the reality is men and women have not changed, you know, just because our world has shifted, but we have not, like you said, the men pursue, they're the pursuers. And that's been, you know, forever.
In a perfect world, yes. But as I said about the last 50 years, basically since the sexual revolution happened in the 60s, thereabouts, and it was really up until that point, women hadn't had the freedom they have now. They didn't have their own bank accounts, their own cars, their own houses. They stayed at home with their parents and were courted out by their future husband. Since the 60s and for the last, so it's been about 50 years, women have really learned how to take the reins back to their lives. They leave home, go to college, or they go to get a job. They have their own independence, their own autonomy, so they don't need a man like they used to. And so that shifted the culture and the paradigm of our society, because now we're in a place where women and men are not in the same arena. Men still think they're in charge, which is still a false belief. So women are now stepping into their own leadership, and that's a whole other conversation. But in sense of dating, I mean, I remember one of the relationships I was in, she asked me out. And she basically, and also she run the relationship, which is why we're no longer together. But she was, what I didn't realize until I look back is when I looked through with, 2020 hindsight, she was in a masculine, and I dropped out of that role to make room for her to run because I didn't want to upset her. Well, that lasted about 6 months, and then she got really upset because she was like, when are you going to take charge? And I was like, you wanted it, I gave it to you. And so that was the mistake I made in that relationship. And I won't judge her in that sense. But a lot of women have gotten caught up in that mindset where they need to pursue to make it happen. And in being an independent woman working in the corporate world, you have to be kind of a pursuer to get things done, same as the men are. When it comes to dating, it's almost like, well, let's say way back in not medieval time, Victorian times, and actually in the Wild West too, a lady would drop a handkerchief for a man to pick up to let him know that she was interested, and then he would pick it up and give it back to her to show like corresponding interest. Then he would then step forward. It's kind of like it reduces the rejection factor. And so nowadays we don't have anything like that. It's almost like, how do you have that modern feeling where a woman can let a man know she's interested, but he's got to do the work? Because a lot of times they have to do the work to let the man know she's interested. So then he's like, oh, great, no problem, let's do it. And so that paradigm is where we've shifted. And I think men have yet to really claim back their place of ownership. But also women have to really, I would say, not have to, but for women to remember that they can be a flirt, to be dateable, and to be approachable, so that the man can actually, because we, to be honest, also for a lot of men, I mean, some men are very brave and they can do it, but most men approaching a woman isn't the easy thing to do, because we feel like nervous, uncertain, because most men have had a fair share of rejection, and so we don't like getting rejected. Even though I know as a mental construct, rejection means you just don't get what you don't get what you wanted, and you're okay without it. But emotionally, for us, again, we don't really express our emotions. We feel, the pain of rejection. So when a woman says no, it's really frustrating. But if she at least gives us a clue, like saying, yes, let's talk, that's like, oh, good, I can talk to this woman first. We can find out if we actually do have commonality and compatibility, because that's a big step up for men. I maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think other men feel the same way. Is the dating arena is like a battlefield sometimes, where we're so risking our lives every time I go and ask a woman out before we even get anywhere. And she says no, and we go, okay.
Well, what do you think about texting? I don't. For me, dating and everything, I'm out there dating, and they want to text everything, and I say I don't really do texting. I really prefer not to do that. I'm a talker, listener. The voice is very important to me, so I could hear things that are going on, and but then I also have them say. So texting is one thing, and also the other thing is they want. What I've found is that men want you to call them, and I come back to them and I say, I'm not calling you. If you're interested in me, you'll call me. And so and this is what they ask me. They say to me, well, why don't you call? Why don't you call? I said, because you're a man, and I'm going to allow you to be one. And they're very surprised by that.
But that's exactly right. It is I mean, yes, a woman can call a man, but if she's the only one calling, that's out of whack. So let's start with the texting piece. It's one of my pet peeves, even though I text myself. But I believe, and I've been trying to promote this, and I talk about this, is that texting really is a way to share logistical information. Meaning that when you text somebody, it's kind of like, is it okay to call you like in 2 hours because I'll be free from my meeting, something like that, or I'll be there in 20 minutes because I'm running late in traffic. That's what texting's for. Calling is when you communicate, and there's a whole study that's done online about how much we communicate through words and through talking versus what we do when we're in person with each other. The way we describe something like 7% of our communication is just the words we say, which means texting is at most 7% of our communication. Because in texting, there's no tonality, there's no volume, there's no tempo, there's no timbre. All these things are missing, which creates the nuance and the communication of language. When you call somebody, you talk over the phone, that expands the conversation because you can hear in somebody's voice what they really mean beyond the words. In texting, you can't do that. So texting for me is an extremely weak format for romance. Now, There is the whole thing with sexting, which is another level, which I'm not going to get into in this point, but sexting in that sense is more for logistical things. So when you want to talk to somebody, that thing we have, this thing is not it's not a data device, it's still a phone. You can call people with it. So I'm really passionate about people remembering that it's okay to talk by phone or in person. Even video chat is a great way to do it too. So we have all these tools, but we stick to the lowest common denominator, which is texting, which is so weak.
Well,
and I think, again,
a lot of times they do that is because they, I hate to say it, because a lot of times they're preoccupied doing something else. So they'll just do a little text, or they have text saved in there that they send to you. Or what I hate the worst is when they're talking and they'll say something and then they send it not looking at it and it means nothing. It's like,
oh,
what are they trying
voice to text? Yeah, right.
You know,
so,
it's like, and I've had them text. I've had guys text me and I'm the wrong person. And I said, sorry, I'm not bugged about it because I'm dating and, I don't expect them. We're not in a committed relationship. I remember the last guy, he did that. He sent me something and I said, I don't think this one's for me. I think you might want to go back and double check that. And he was very embarrassed. And I said, when we talked about it later, I said, I don't have a problem with it. We're not in a committed relationship. It's no biggie,
right.
But yeah. So I think, texting loses a lot, but talking on the phone, coming from a woman's standpoint, I think that it gets our, some of our sensory, mechanisms going. You know what I mean? We hear that inflection of the voice, the laughter, or whatever, and
right.
it all our senses.
Yeah, well, the things, and this is true for both men and women, but we're generally feeling sensitive now. I'm not talking about NLP or the 5 love languages, but we generally feel things. So when we talk, we can feel into what's coming. And again, that's why text doesn't work, because texting is this empty connection. So we make up feelings about it, which is why there's problems with texting.
Right.
But when we're talking, you can feel somebody's happiness, sadness, joy, frustration, all these things. So you can resonate with them and you can actually have a sense of rapport. And that really creates closeness and that more intimacy. Even by phone, you can have intimacy. And that's the thing that I think has been missing a lot because people are too busy texting. So yeah, texting, not a good idea.
Now, what do you think about attraction? Because I have a good friend and he thinks everything about dating is attraction. You're either attracted or you're not attracted or whatever. So what do you think about this thing about attraction? Have you ever actually gone out with a woman that you met her and like online or something, and you didn't think she was as attractive, but you went ahead and went out with her? Have you ever done that?
I've met women who've actually gone out and wasn't my ideal type or the perfect look. But we had great connection, great chemistry, great connection. It worked really well. I've also met women who are like, oh my God, she's like the best looking woman I've ever seen in my life. And then she talks to me and I go, oh no, because there's no connection. And the challenge is that because, say beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but there are a lot of people, I'm going to say men or women, who are very tied to a physical look. And it's almost like they have to look this way. And I've met women that look the way I think they should look, but there's no chemistry. There's no connection. There's no polarity. There's no desire because they are not 3-dimensional almost. So they're almost 2-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge for a lot of people, is that we have this myopic view of what love should look like, and it's not always true. And definitely I know that, I mean, also to say this on the other side of things, I know there's a certain framework of what I'm looking for in a relationship in terms of like a certain age range, certain physical weight, type, look, appearance that will work. And outside of that, it's going to be unlikely. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unlikely. And having that availability is a healthy way to look, because I may meet somebody who is brunette instead of blonde, and I go, oh, well, that wasn't expecting, but I don't like him a lot. Or they have, they're 3 inches shorter than I think they should be, and it works fine. So it's having an availability to possibility versus they must be this thing only. Frees up your opportunity to have healthy relationships, because that whole, attraction to be the perfect thing. Now, sorry, I'm just had another thought. So having attraction is not always about just the physical, because a lot of what attraction is about, we've thrown the word chemistry about a couple of times. I'm a firm believer that chemistry is actually the attraction between polarities of masculine and feminine, because I'm clear that attraction is not based necessarily on looks. Sometimes it's much more visceral than that. And a large part of that is what I believe is the polarity, like polarity, like magnets have poles, polarity. So north-south pole are very connected to each other, but a north and north repel each other. And if there's no magnetism, it doesn't stick.
Right.
People are the same way. We are, as human beings, on the polarity spectrum, either more masculine or more feminine. When nobody's usually 100% one or the other, but we tend to be along that spectrum. And so the further apart we are, the more chemistry there is between us. And of course, if that's the gender you prefer, because there are gay relationships, the same thing's true too. It's not about physical appearance. It's not about gender. It's about polarity. So I believe chemistry, which is the attracting energy, is based on the polarity we have between us. So I might meet somebody who's extremely attractive, but if the polarity is not there, it just doesn't juice me. It doesn't get me excited.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I've said that over and over and over again. I think it is based on the energy. Absolutely. Because there has been times for myself or even others that I've talked to that they've gone out with them because they've pursued them online and they think, okay, they really, looks wise, they really didn't think it would probably work, right? But then they met them and it was like, bam, it was like electricity, and their personalities got along great. And, I know a few that have gotten married and are happy, and this started out with like, I don't know about this one. So I do think that we do have to be open-minded, right? When we're building relationships. I think when we're out there dating, we need to look at it as we're building a relationship. It may end up with a friendship, or maybe we might surprise ourselves where it could go.
And the other thing also is that because we are a very visually stimulated environment with all the dating apps and dating sites, it's so tempting to dismiss somebody because they don't look the right way on camera. But if you had a video of that person, for example, we'd see them animated moving around. You can actually go, oh, this person's interesting. Or when I see, oh, now then when they move, I see how they look. Which they always, maybe they look like a deer in headlights on the camera every time because they freeze. Not very attractive. But it's like if you saw them animated without having a camera in their face, they might be a very attractive person. So you don't know these things. So it is sometimes, are you willing to look beyond what you first thought and get to know somebody? Because a lot of times what happens when you spend time with somebody, that's when the chemistry starts to build. It's not immediately first time you see them. It might take an hour conversation and suddenly go, I like this person, which you may not realize before. So having flexibility may be a good thing.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And we're, just to share with you, on the dating site that we're developing, we're having groups on there so that we do feel the interaction that singles have is very, very important. And because of that, one factor is that you may look at their picture and you may not think, oh, they're not so, but when you meet them and you get, a flavor of their personality, you might very well say, wow, I really like this person. They're very funny and they're, upbeat or whatever. And they maybe have some interest. You were able to get to know them a little more and have some interest. And that maybe there would be a connection that way. The other thing we're going to have very strong, I'm hoping, is that we're going to have forums where people can actually talk online. And I think that's important because I think if we share how we're feeling and we share our minds with other people, we may be surprised that, wow, this person's a lot deeper than I thought. You know what I mean? Intellectually, you're on the same page too. So I think all those senses that we have are very, very important when we're out looking to build a relationship with someone. Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you have any pet peeves in dating? Anything like that? Do you anything that you like, oh, I don't like this, other than the
one of my pet peeves is about the men. I got to say this one. It's been on my mind a lot. I've talked about it before because it bugs me. I'm passionate about when men being gentlemen. Doesn't matter if you don't want to go out with a woman. It doesn't matter anything else. If you're willing to be nice, open the door for them, help them with their coat, let them go first. All these different things. I watch people in couples, and I watch men totally unaware of the woman at all. Like they get in the driver's side of the car. They don't open the special side for the woman. They just they go through the door ahead of them, don't care about them. It's like, what happened? And now being from England originally, I know it's in my DNA. I grew up with this. Is gentlemanly conduct is a very easy thing, but you got to remember to do it. And it's frustrating, I know, for women because they think that they want to be treated nicely by a man, to be treated like a lady. And it's like, can men step up to the role of being a gentleman of anybody, not just their own girlfriend or the partner, but any woman. Can men be respectful enough to open the door, step back, let them go first, open the door to the car, those sort of things, because they're so simplistic. And also, there's another thing, by the way, which is on the same thing, is about respecting women. When men are with women, and I won't get the whole thing about abuse, I'm talking about just in terms of appearance and presentation. A few years back, I remember I was sitting outside a restaurant up in the Bay Area with a friend of mine. We're having dessert. It was a hot summer night. This 30-something couple, I think probably maybe late 20s, walked by us. And it was high summer, so she was in a short, like, summer dress, beautiful, hair was brushed back. She had a little bit of light makeup on. She was very tan, very, very fit looking, but also she looked like she was taking care of herself. Her boyfriend was walking along next to her, and he had a baseball cap on backwards, a white t-shirt that was like rolled up at the sleeves because he was muscular. Jeans were all torn up, and flip-flops. And I was thinking there was something not fitting together with that, because it was just about how he wasn't like dressing to match her, which sounds so simple. But again, like gentlemanly conduct is about respecting women, which I believe is a thing we all should do as men, is how you can actually dress the part to step up so that you're, at least appearance-wise, in the same arena as she is. Because that's one of the things that men don't do a lot of times. They don't take care of themselves for her, let alone for themselves. Women are getting better at taking care of themselves, regardless of the men. But it's time for the men to step up and be much more in the place as well, because so many men don't bother, it seems like. And that to me is one of my pet peeves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. The two elements there with regards to being a gentleman, I think that's very, very, very important. And I will say, and I think I shared it on the show we had before, is that my ex is also from England, and he one thing what kind of really impressed me is that he was so polite, and he was so, I mean, I just don't know if American men are like that, or have we not taught our American men to be like that? I know that my boys are like that because I've instilled it in them, but I didn't notice that there was a difference, about it. But the thing is, when he was opening the door for me, when he did certain things for me, it did make me feel like he did respect me. You know what I mean? So I think that when we offer kindness to someone, we also are offering, respect to them.
Yes.
So I think that that's very, very important. So, guys, if you're out there going to date someone, the worst thing you can do is let the door slam in her face, because, that's no respect whatsoever. But
No.
And I do agree with what you were saying about dressing. Why would you not want to look your best when you're out on a date? And I think that if you don't know how to dress, then you need to just say to the guy, how should I wear? What should I wear? Or what type of, what are we going to be doing? So if you're going to be going boating, and, do I need to wear my bathing suit? Do I have to bring my bathing suit? Or, what are we doing that I need to know how to dress? Because what you don't want to be doing is in a sundress, and flip-flops, and then you find out you're going out to dinner at this fancy restaurant,
A black tie event, yeah.
Be wearing heels. So, yeah, I mean, I just think if you just share that and don't hesitate to ask. But I think it's important, because each step along the way as we're dating, don't you agree? We're showing a part of ourselves, and also, respecting that respect is shown each step. So when you start seeing that, women, I think we look at it and we start seeing a faulty part there, then we start wondering, is this relationship really going to work for us if the guy isn't stepping up, so to speak?
Right.
Yeah, and doing what they should do. So thank you for sharing that with us, that bothers you, because I think it's important that our American men need to know that. So, and I've met some great guys that are okay.
Oh, good.
They're not all.
Right.
Generally, we're just doing it generally.
Oh, yeah.
So anything else you can say with regards to your book? Because you've got a great book. This book is really an awesome book. And so, is there any other thing you'd like to share with regards to the book that
help
the people out there that are trying to find relationships?
Well, I covered polarity, which is a couple of chapters in the book, and I talked about taking care of ourselves first. Let me speak back that for a second. I've said it this. I said it earlier a different way. I said it, say it this way now: is that really it's not up to your next partner to heal your baggage from your last relationship.
Oh, okay.
Because that's one of those things it's a deeper cut, because it's something people don't talk about much, especially in the dating arena. It's like, just go on another date, you'll be fine. I am cautious about that, because for most of my clients, they usually come to me after they've been wounded in a relationship, and they were actually smart enough to seek help rather than going out on another date, because they realize that if they go on another date, they haven't actually recovered from the first one or previous relationship. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what I talk about in my work is really helping my clients to get back on their feet energetically and emotionally, so they can actually be able to date from a place of wholeness. Because the challenge also with us as human beings is that we have complex systems inside. We have emotional expression, that way. So a lot of people, to be honest, also are not very emotionally mature. So when they get upset, they revert to basic, almost instinctual levels. When it comes to relationships, if you are carrying wounds from a past relationship and you meet somebody new, those raw spots inside may not be very far below the surface. And when you're at the new relationship, maybe 2-3 months in, and that person says something that triggers you from something happened in the last relationship, and you basically launch at them, and you let loose all your upset and vitriol at them from the past relationship, they don't know what happened. And you're going to really mess up the new relationship. So a large part of it is also, one, to be so you're not wounded anymore. But secondly, for the sake of your new partner, it's good to actually have resolved your past issues, so you're not ready to dump them on the new person. It's not their job to unpack your baggage. It's your job to do that between relationships. So one of the things we do when we're dating is we say, okay, I'll just go on another date, I'll be fine. And yes, men are more guilty than women, because men don't deal with this as much. But women also will tend to, they'll sublimate some of their feelings. They won't feel them as much. They go on another date because they feel like dating is the best place to be, versus being single isn't right. Because another thing also as part of that is that we as people aren't always comfortable being single, being alone, being in our own company. We need somebody else to fill in the gaps that we don't want to face ourselves. And so a lot of times, can we actually get back to the place of actually enjoying being a single whole person and loving who we are before we meet anybody else? That's probably the healthiest place to come from.
That's so true. Absolutely true. You know, one thing that I was thinking about as you were talking, and I had talked to another friend of mine, and we were talking about triggers. And so when you haven't, healed, and
Yes.
what will happen is you think you're doing fine, you're moving on, you're, whatever. And then all of a sudden something will trigger you that part, your new partner or whatever, your potential new relationship will say something or do something or whatever. And it triggers you to remember what had happened in your past, that, then, you'll take it out on this potential new person, and it's not their fault, not necessarily that this triggered, this happened to you. So it is very, very important that you do take the steps in which to heal and be okay with being single for a while. Don't fall into the trap where you, because I have heard where people, I'm okay with being single. I've just, I have my dog and I'll just stay here forever. You don't want to follow that kind of scenario. That's a whole nother thing. But you do want to be whole enough to be able to say, you did this, but you're a different person. And the thing is also setting your boundaries, right? Because if, let's say, this new person did something that was kind of similar to your past and it triggered it for you, then it's time there for you to set your boundary and say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, or this made me feel like this. And, that person may not even have realized what they had done, and they'll correct it. So if they care for you. So yeah, absolutely. Well, share with us what you're doing now. So you've written this terrific book, and I know you've been doing coaching. So share what you're doing. Yeah. What's
up for me now, and I sort of hinted at it in a way, just what I just talked about, is about that self-care support piece. Because with almost every one of my clients I've worked with over the years, it's always come back to, how do you love yourself first before you get into a relationship? And about 8 months ago, I launched a guided self-love meditation practice, which I launched to people. They can buy it and then download and use it. But I realized there's more to it than that. And so recently, after doing several Facebook Lives about this topic, I had this rather clear awareness I need to teach something more specifically about how do people, particularly women, learn how to learn to support themselves and encourage themselves and embrace who they really are so they can attract an amazing relationship. So what I created about a week ago now, very recently, is a new program called Coming Home to Yourself. And it's actually a group course that's launching actually in a couple of weeks. But it's really something that I'm passionate about because I'm realizing there's all these different pieces that we don't necessarily consider that are important for us to have in our lives, like self-support, self-guidance, there's so many, I've got like 13 of them written up. All these different self-reflective skills to be better as a person, then better in relationship. So that's my newest thing I'm working on that I'm going to generate. That actually may become another book, I've got a feeling, because it's got that feeling of being very teachable in a format that's written as well. So that's my latest thing I'm working on.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Now, I know that we can reach you online. We can do these courses or whatever, coaching online. So share with us how we can get a hold of you.
Sure. Well, my name is my social media and my business, my website. So barryselby.com, facebook.com/Barry Selby. All that's my name, wherever you find me now. So basically the best way to find me, I do Facebook Live every day. And that's on my personal page, which is facebook.com/Barry Selby, of course. And my business page is also on Facebook. You can find me there as well. The course I just launched is not even public yet. That's on my website. If you go to my name, barryselby.com/coming home, you can check it out. But that's brand new. So it's not even, I've just got a simple page on my website saying, check it out. Here's the information. Here's what will help you. And reach out to me if you want to sign up for it. So my name is my brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful, the things that you do. And I do appreciate you being on with us tonight. Is there any closing words that you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to share with our listeners before we end the show tonight?
Simply this is that everybody deserves love and everybody can be loved, but also everybody can love ourselves. So if we are being down in the dumps, feeling we can't have love, we don't deserve love, the truth is you actually are loving yourself. You just got to love yourself more. Just turn up the juice, learn how to be more loving, and then you'll be amazed at what happens in your life.
That's very well said. Absolutely. Very well said. Well, Barry, thank you so much. Barry Selby, thank you for being on the show with us tonight. And I appreciate it. And it's been a great show. And I want to thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I appreciate the invitation. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, this is Cece, and you are listening to The Boy and Girl Thing. And I guess it's a little bit darker here. When I started broadcasting, it was a little lighter outside. But, I didn't realize I was kind of getting in the dark here, but we're set in the mood for dating. But anyhow, but this is Cece with The Boy and Girl Thing. You are listening on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the show as much as I did, and we'll see you back next time. Bye for now.